You're watching GearWire.com. I am Owen O'Malley, and this is the Electro-Harmonix Deluxe Memory Boy analog delay, made in New York City, USA. Hey, that rhymes. The Deluxe Memory Boy is an analog delay with digital control, but the entire signal path is analog. It's a sort of classic bucket brigade style IC chip arrangement. So your signal is very warm. Well, it's the sort of classic warm analog delay style, but with digital control you get a lot more flexibility, including tap and some cool sort of like sequencing time-based effects. Well, let's just take a look at the controls here. You get your basic blend knob from dry to wet. Okay, leave it back in the middle here, which is sort of nice. And the gain knob basically, well, it can compensate for, when you've got your blend at 50-50, your dry signal is coming down a little bit. Then you can use your gain knob, your gain trim, to sort of make sure that your dry signal is the same as your bypassed unaffected signal. Let's bypass. Cut it out there. Or you could even use it as a boost. If you use delay primarily in solos, for example, you can just crank the gain here, and here's your unaffected tone. And if we click it on now, get a little grit. Let's dial it back. All right. Now we've got our feedback and delay controls up here. Feedback, in a practical sense, controls the number of repeats. If we have feedback all the way down, well, we got to engage the effect. Feedback all the way down. Only one repeat. Sort of progressively decaying repeats. And if we start turning it past sort of 12 o'clock, it starts to feedback on itself. Which can kind of get out of control pretty quickly. Now with your delay knob here, you can kind of do some fun pitchy effects. Sort of edge of the pedal, you can control it with your foot, even if you don't have an expression pedal, but you can use an expression pedal. We'll get to that later. Now, there's two ways of controlling your delay time. There's the delay knob, and then there is this tap tempo button. So you can enter a delay time with the tap tempo button. When you do enter a delay time with the tap tempo button, that also grants you access to the tap divide function. Now, tap divide is really cool. It takes whatever beat that you input, whatever tempo you input, and then subdivides it by sort of musical fractions. So our first subdivision here is a dotted eighth note. So here's our master tempo that we inputted. And then we have triplet quarter notes. We have eighth notes. Now we have triplet eighth notes. And then we have 16th notes. Now, let's listen to the pitch of the notes as we play one and let it feed back and then cycle through. Now you can hear that because these are at sort of musical time subdivisions, they're also at musically sort of logical intervals as the pitch increases. Now here's a really cool thing you can do with tap divide. If you hold down the tap divide button, you enter tap sequence mode. And you can change the rate of the sequence with the rate knob. And you still have independent control over your delay time using the tap tempo button. Now, if you want to get out of that, you can either hold down the button again, or you can just move the delay knob. Moving the delay knob, as opposed to putting in a tap delay, defeats this sort of tap divide function. Okay, now let's go over here. These are a couple of cool effects. Depth and rate, when you're not in tap divide, give you access to these sort of tape fluttery effects. If we move our tap control, or rather, sorry, if we move our depth control counterclockwise, there's a center detent here, we can select saw wave and different depths of this saw wave. Let's keep our rate up so you can kind of hear what this does. Now it kind of gets crazy if you wanted to. Now if we go to the right of the depth center detent, and we choose the square wave, so you can kind of go from subtle tape flutter to some really intense effects using the rate and depth controls. Now let's back it up because I've got a expression pedal connected here. So as you can see, we've got a Moog EP2 hooked up here. Any expression pedal with TRS like this will work. All right. Now, you choose what parameter your expression pedal is controlling with the expression mode button. The first one here is a rate control. Now, rate right here is the rate of the tape flutter. Okay, now the next one here is the depth of that flutter. Now, we can also control feedback and delay. Feedback is particularly helpful because if you have your feedback sort of all the way up and it starts feeding back, you can always just lean back on this pedal. Depending on the polarity, you might also be pushing down on the toe. But that can kind of override any kind of crazy feedback that's happening just with a simple stomp of the foot. Like so. That's a handy thing. Now, a sort of more fun thing would be maybe delay, because then you can control delay time with this pedal. Okay, well that's fun. Now let's move on to the effects loop. As you can see, we've got two pedals hooked up in our effects loop. We're coming from the send into a Morpheus drop tune, which we covered in another video, and then over to this Whirlwind Rochester Series Orange Box phaser pedal. Let's bring the phaser pedal in first. Okay, so you can hear how that's kind of fun. Let's take that out. Even more fun, I think, is the Morpheus drop tune. We did cover this pedal extensively in another video. Basically, the setting I've got it on here is dropping the incoming signal by an octave. Now, if we turn it on, you can hear that it is dropping each successive repeat by an octave. that's a lot of fun. Now, with an effect like the drop tune, if we bring our delay time all the way 0, I mean, we're still getting a little bit of delay, but it's almost like a slapback reverb. But listen to what happens to our guitar sound. We turn into a slightly delayed octaver pedal, which is really fun. One more thing I want to cover here, actually, that I didn't before, is if you hold down the expression mode button here, you see these all light up. Now your rate button becomes a high pass for each successive repeat. Let's turn this effect off so we can hear what that sounds like. With rate all the way counterclockwise, there is no, it's basically the high pass is bypassed. The high pass is bypassed. Let's bring our delay down. But if we turn rate up, you can hear that each successive repeat has a more extreme low cut applied to it. So that's yet another sort of little extra thing that you can access by holding down this control. Let's bypass that again. So that was the Electro-Harmonix Deluxe Memory Boy analog delay. It's got a bunch of awesome features: an effects loop, tap tempo, cool little sequencer, expression pedal input for real-time control. It can be powered by 9-volt battery, so fits pretty easily onto any pedal board. It only runs about $180 street from most musical instrument retailers. So quite the steal. You've been watching GearWire.com. I'm Owen O'Malley. See you later.